All right, let's see what we got. Guess we on. Hey, what's going on, party people? Now, I hope you guys can hear me. Yeah, y'all should be able to. Now, if this is your first time here, welcome. It's definitely a pleasure to have you here. I go by the name of Lee Sweet. I am a spiritual healer. And basically, you know, as a spiritual healer, what I do pretty much is that I help people to become mentally and emotionally balanced. And ultimately, the goal of doing all of that is to allow you to attain the highest state of consciousness. In other words, for you to become the Christ, the Krishna, the Buddha, however you like to, whichever, the star seeds, the chosen one, the light worker, the whatever you wish to call it. So, as a spiritual healer, that's pretty much what I do. Now, when it comes down for you to understand, and the whole idea of, being emotionally balanced and mentally balanced is the idea of mind, body, and soul, meaning that they all need to come together in order for you to have a broader perspective. And that's the highest state of consciousness. That's you becoming the Christ like. That's, again, that's pretty much what that is. So now, when I'm talking about, helping you to become emotionally balanced, what I'm referring to here is that I help you to understand your emotions. You need to understand what emotions are. Then at that point, for you to identify your emotional pattern, it's like, yeah, okay, what's going on with me emotionally? And at that point, you should be able to resolve, or if there's any blockages, then you'll be able to either transmute it, meaning changing that emotion, or whatever the fuck, it all start with you being aware, understanding, or having a connection with your emotions. So becoming emotionally balanced, it simply means, you connecting to your emotions. Because when you see people who are being triggered, these are a perfect example of, and perfect example pretty much of people who are not in touch with who they are. Or you'll see some people may be reacting in a certain way. Now, that's not what I'm. You know what I'm saying? That's not what it is, but you can clearly see it. Now, to you, you may say that person is lying or whatever the fuck you may want to say, but I'm trying to show you there's something else taking place here that you may not be taking into account. And that is pretty much, the lack of connection between when you see there's a lot of people, you see it all the time. But because we're not trained to look at people from a spiritual perspective, you may call them haters, or you may call them, let's just say, they don't take accountability. We say it all the time. People don't take accountability. But what does that mean? You can only take accountability because you are in touch with you. So therefore, being in touch with your emotions it plays a big part of you getting in touch with you. That's why it's not an easy thing for a lot of people to say, I'm sorry, man. It's not, because there's a lot of other stuff. Also, this is reflecting the complexity of in us. I'm not gonna get, what I'm saying, let me slow it down for a minute, but going back to emotions, for you to become emotionally balanced or even to master your emotions, you gotta make it yours. And the process of you making it yours, I mean, again, and that part has nothing to do, let's just say, because I'm gonna be talking about that too. That's what we're gonna be talking about. Pretenders, the spiritual pretenders. This is not about, let's just say, I'm not going to raise my voice. I'm not going to say how I feel. I mean, it has nothing to do with that. Now, granted, like I know for me, I may choose not to answer some people. That's just because it's not worth it. or I mean, and you know what I'm saying? I see you. You see what I'm saying? That's like, why would I argue with a 5 year old? It doesn't make any sense. I don't think you would either. Well, when you start looking at people, beyond the physical aspect, then you realize you're dealing with a lot of kids, a lot of people who are actually in older bodies, but there are kids internally. They have not grown. And that's why fear plays a big part too in the quality of life that you be living. Fear defines, again, your level of consciousness. But anyway, I mean, it's all related, and there's so much that could be said, especially dealing with the emotions and then your shadow work too. Because essentially, when we talk about doing your shadow work, it's just a fancy word or fancy term, of you dealing with your early emotions, and as you're doing your shadow work, what you're doing, you're going down the memory lane looking to identify the first thing that you had put to the side that you didn't want to acknowledge. But anyway, going back to, again, I guess it had to be said, but going back to become emotionally balanced, it's not to be a pretender, but yet you can't really, when it comes down to it, that's when a lot of these people, they're just being triggered. And the moment that they're being triggered, they don't know what the fuck's going on. And here's something else. So I talked about the ego. That is where their ego stepped in to protect them. That's why you'll see the most insecure people would have the loudest ego. It's not their ego that's the issue. The ego is protecting, but because that's where their level of consciousness is, and that's what the fuck the ego's doing. Your ego can go as only goes as far as you go. Now, for a spiritual master or someone who had, control over their emotions, their ego is going to behave different automatically. It's not a thing that you got to do by checking your ego. You don't check your ego, you check yourself. But anyway, as part of, understanding your emotions, then you'll be dealing with the ego. But that would be down, I mean, that would be also another, I talk about the ego as well, the false self and all of that. But for now, we're just going to talk about the emotions. So, because it helps you, because, I mean, this is all part of you dealing with your emotions. You got to deal with the shadow side, I mean, self as well. So, it's a lot more than just, let's just say, you don't use profanity. Then you're like, okay, I have a good control of myself. That's bullshit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, again, and that's what I'm going to be talking about too, the spiritual pretenders. There's a lot of them here. A lot of them. But anyway, in addition to that, as I mentioned prior, also help you to become mentally balanced. Now, becoming mentally balanced, it requires for you to become more aware of your intellect. Meaning, how does your mind work, man? You got to understand that. But most importantly, you also got to be aware of, how were your mind being trained? How were you trained to think? And as we all know by now, I would hope, we understand the quality of your thinking determines your life. That's why we say change your thinking or change your thoughts and change your life. It's not changing an idea, it's to change your thoughts, everything. So when you're being born again, meaning now if you're stepping into the Christ consciousness, now you're being born again because now you're no longer looking at yourself as you used to look at yourself. And this is what I'm helping you to do as a spiritual healer. That's why we're giving sights to the blinds, because what we're doing here is it's help you to see more to you than it was it, than it was taught, or then it's to allow you to see more in you. Fuck it, but also more than what was given to you as well as part of who you are. So, but for you to become mentally conscious or balanced, you have to be aware of everything I just mentioned just now. That's why you have to understand your culture because all of these things they are contributing to your thinking, meaning the way of living. If you're a fucking American, well, I mean, shit. I mean, yes, there it is. There's a culture, there's a way of seeing things. That's what makes you that. That's why, I always tell people your spirituality is your humanity. Because this is where now you will have to understand, the ordinary reality that you're looking at or having a deeper understanding of it. Well, for that to happen, that's when you're gonna have to go inside, go inward. So being mentally balanced, I mean, that's when you have to understand how is politics and what kind of influence does it has on you, or even are you even acting or saying things because of what's being said to you? Like, I mean, that's ultimately what it truly comes down to. Because when you start to know your nature, which I will be talking about shortly, which is a thinking living or a living mind energy, that's after you bypass everything. And even you could just look at your life. You know what I'm saying? We all go out, we listen to music, like, you know what I'm saying? You want to be loved, you want to be hugged, like all of that are different aspect of yourself. Going to the beach, watching nature, or whatever the fuck you're doing. This is you actually like fulfilling another aspect of you. So that alone should let you know, people go out to listen to poetry. That's why we listen to music. We buy a beautiful painting. This is all of yourself or your soul expressing itself. So I'm saying all that to say, even because, let's just dumb it all the way the fuck down. Your life alone, like you gotta realize it's more than dick and pussy. Even if you don't realize it's more than dick and pussy, you do shit, you look for other shit that is more than dick and pussy. You watch a movie, if you play sports, whatever the fuck. All of these things, I mean, this is you knowing or saying, making that statement, consciously or unconsciously, doesn't matter. And if you can understand that, that's when you start delving more into yourself. So that's why I always tell people, like no, that's how knowing who you are sets you free. The freedom that you'll get out of it, you'll get out of the current fucking box. You'll understand true living, your true purpose. And that's how you transcend matter. Not by refuting or rejecting it, but simply by identify yourself with the deeper side of you. which is your true self, your nature, the thinking, living part of you, and all that. But anyway, to summarize, that's pretty much what I do as a spiritual healer. And I guess a little part of that, I guess it would be a great opening because I'll be talking about spirituality and all that. And this is all part of it. But before I do so, if you're coming back, you already know, baby. Come on, you thought I was just gonna forget about you? Come on, man. No way. Can I tell you why? You know what I'm saying? Because there must have been something. You know what I'm saying? I mean, shit. That's what we're doing here, man. No, nobody's gonna be left behind. So if you come back, baby, you walk. You already know that's what we do here. We spread love. You know what I'm saying? This is a holy communion, as always. Now, let's get to it because I'm gonna make this a short one. So now, guys, as part of my routine, now if this is your first time, so far, I hope, I didn't lose you. You know what I'm saying? Um, as a spiritual healer, spirituality is what I use. It's the foundation of what I'm talking. We all talk about, how we are living thinking, right? The living mind. So my consciousness or the bread that I'm sharing with you it came out of that. And when we talk about spirituality, I always, like to tell you a little bit about it because there's a lot of misconception about what spirituality is. And one of the biggest one is that, spirituality is outside of you. I mean, now it's becoming a lot more popular. People are talking about it. I get it. That's the age. That's what's happening. The new age, whatever the fuck. But still, although it's becoming a lot more popular, people are saying they're blessed. You know what I'm saying? Law of manifestation and all of that. It's still being done on a selective or a selected few. But even them, and that's what we're going to be talking about tonight too. Which, oh my God, which needs to be talked about. But anyway, going back to spirituality, it's just you. It's your essence. It's your nature. So the biggest misconception is to think that it is outside of you. And the reason being is because the way you look at you is flesh and bones only. In other words, you're not familiar with that. It's not like us talking about a football game or a boxing a match that's coming up that you can relate to. That's what you see. That's part of your direct experience. And that conception it comes out or it's out of fucking ignorance because that's the only thing that you know. And you've also been trained to think of. You've only been trained to look at yourself as dick and pussy. And as a result, this is the life that you're living. And you created a whole persona in life about who you should be instead of who you are. And having that type of mentality, that's where the whole domination comes in, competition comes in, everything. Like any, I mean, that is the world that you're living in. Greed and all that shit. It's just part of it. It's not a coincidence that motherfuckers are greedy. Like even if you're looking at in our culture, we do worship businessmen, the successful businessmen. Those are our models. Those are our supermodels. The Steve Jobs, the whoever the fuck, Elon Musk. Like those are the niggas that a lot of you motherfuckers praise. Robert Kiyosaki's. These motherfuckers. Because I mean, although what they're doing, they're taking you out of what you've been trained. But what I'm saying to you, ultimately, that's who you worship anyway. You know what I'm saying? It's just a higher level of the bullshit. And at the end of the day, it remains the bullshit. And that's also, well, I'm getting way ahead of myself here. So let's get back to when we're talking about spirituality. So, the fact that you think of spirituality being outside of you, first of all, it's out of ignorance because you don't know who you are. You don't know your true nature. So much so, that's why, isn't that why we're saying, let's get back into the culture. You know, one of the main reason why there's a guy named Napoleon Hill, his book was very successful because I mean I'm not against the work at all, but I'm trying to get you to be conscious of something here, right? So he's telling you to adapt a millionaire mentality. What does that really mean? Is that you only live in the life that you're living, and these people will let you know that too because of the way you think. So if my life is based on the way I think, so what is your nature then? What does that say about you? That's what I want you to get out of this. Because if you're getting that out of that, right, then you understand there is more to you than just digging pussy. So therefore, and I have one of my recordings where I talked about your survival kit is spirituality, is consciousness. The more you know, the more you can do. And you can also experience that too, depending on what family that you came from, right? You came from a small family, they think small. You understand when you go to college and all that shit, for you to grow, well, hey, you know what I'm saying? You got to cultivate another state of mind, meaning then you would have to associate with the appropriate person and or people. But the bottom line here, that what I'm saying, so when we're talking about spirituality, in essence, it's talking about you. Now, of course, there's different levels in it, but spirituality is you. There's nothing outside of you. Even when we're talking about, let's just say, the law of manifestation, this is you. Now, it's not being said that, I mean, in that perspective. But if you can do that, or you have the ability to do that shit, what does that say about you? So to look at yourself as just digging pussy is total fucking ignorance. So therefore, how would the fuck would you even identify with fucking spirituality? So the reason why most people don't even look at spirituality as being part of who they are, or part of themselves, is out of fucking ignorance. Because it's not into your immediate, and it's not part of your direct experience. And you don't even understand your fucking direct experience either. Because if you did, listen, that's why these motherfuckers they able to change their mentality. They understand, that's what we're saying. All of this shit that we're talking about in society as a whole. Tell me who you hanging out with. Well, I'll let you know who you are. So all of these things, again, they are being said repetitively around us and constantly around us. But no one is really saying, okay, so what the fuck does that say about me? And that's what spirituality is. So therefore, I mean, it's not your ignorance. I mean, it's part of that too. You not asking or not knowing who you are, that's a big chunk of your that's just your ignorance. But now spirituality embodies all of it. And even if you do understand it too. So spiritual I mean, and it's not fucking religion at all. You know what I'm saying? But I would say is that and more because it embodies everything. And even the meaning of religion too. I mean, fortunately has, it's a set of belief. But the true meaning of religion, man, it's anybody who's talking about God, meaning they're making the divinity in human form. So if that's what you're saying, I am a religious man. That's what makes me a spiritual healer, nigga. Because I'm making the divine known. I dedicated my life to it. Another way of saying that too, I just dedicated myself to my life to myself. Call it higher self, however you want to call it. But anyway, then now in spirituality now, you have something called the occult. Or you have, I mean, the occult, those sacred texts, you know what I'm saying? There's Hermetics, then you have the Buddhism, you have Kemet, you have all of these different school systems, you know what I'm saying, that have one goals. I mean, they're a little bit different in the way they say certain shit, but ultimately it's talking about the divinity in you, who you are. So again, spirituality, it's just you walking around scratching your ass. Then now having the occult now is giving you a deeper understanding of your ordinary reality. Did you feel the breeze? Is it really breeze? Because we are surrounded in a fucking electromagnetic field too. Shit grows around you. Were you losing? You were using electricity. Where the fuck do you think that came from? These are all shit that you don't see, but that you are surrounded by. So now the occult is helping you to be a little more conscious of that and to be more conscious of you. Now, the Indian called this world Maya. It means illusion. And in my humble opinion, I don't think it could have been said any other way. Because when you understand what illusion is, and now you start to understand spirituality or your true essence, what this is telling you is that you are more than what you appear to be. The meaning of illusion is simply means that it's not what it appears to be. Meaning there's more to that. When you have a magician that perform a tricks in front of you, you see it, but you know, okay, they're gonna cut a person in half. You see it, but that's not what it is, though. You know what I'm saying? It's not what it is. And that's why a lot of our ancestors, we use terms like alchemist, magicians, because we understand that's what we're dealing with around here. That's the dimension that you went. So automatically, just by understanding your true nature, you already bypass all that shit. And that's really what it means by knowing yourself, setting you free. Because you automatic, like when you understand your true nature, that living mind, then you become spiritual, right? Then you will start to acknowledge these things about you. You're saying your affirmation, then you understand why you're saying your affirmation. And this is all I'm gonna be talking about the fucking, what I'm saying, the spiritual pretenders. Because if you talking about even the law of fucking attraction, I'll give you a perfect example. The reason why most people would tell you it doesn't work, they'll probably tell you, you know what, you're not in alignment with what you're trying to do. So therefore, you are a pretender. That's why you got to seek the kingdom of God. We do this shit for real. This is not about using or not using profanity. This is not about sounding good, or it's not about that. It's having a direct relationship with the spirit to become spiritual. Like that. That's why, like, this is the road that's less traveled. You know what I'm saying? And just like they say too, if you see a trail, I mean, if you are on your path and there's a trail in front of you, it's not your path, baby. It's not your path. If there's a trail in front of your path, in front of your path, that's not yours, man. Make a detour, baby. Because yours is gonna be, you're gonna draw that path yourself. And the whole idea of I can show you the door, but you gotta walk through it, or you have to accept Christ. It's all the same shit. It's meaning that, that's why you have to wake up to knowledge. You got to experience it yourself. It has to be discovered. Everybody got to discover their treasure. So now once you discover yours, shit, nigga, mine's on deck. So much so, some people try to steal my shit. That treasure's not for you, baby. It's not for you. But the hard headed always got to see it to believe it. I mean, you go ahead and try. You're not King Arthur, man. You can't pull out that sword, man. Go ahead, go ahead. If you say you are the one, go ahead. Pull it out. Pull it out. Ah, you stuck, motherfucker. It's not your size. Oh, I'm so full of myself. Nigga, I am so full of myself. Ain't no shame in my game, baby. You heard? Gotta make sure we're getting the maximum out of this thing. So let's just summarize spirituality real quick. So I wanted to, it's you. It's your story. It's being said in so many different ways, through different, let's just say, not philosophies, but disciplines, studies, a reflection, but ultimately, the bottom line here is knowing that there's more to you in everything we do in this life. Even having a fucking relationship, dog. Even fucking a bitch. What you're gonna do, you're gonna deal with that person and that person's issue. And that's what you're dealing with. If daddy was not home, hey, you already know. Until that's why you gotta become mentally balanced and emotionally balanced too. Do you see how it all comes together? By becoming emotionally balanced, dealing with that, and mentally balanced. And then now, come on, man. I'm waiting on you. I can only show you the door. I'm just waiting on you. Now, we're gonna talk about the spiritual pretenders. Oh boy, where do I start? You know what I'm saying? But there's also different levels in it too. You see what I'm saying? Hold on, hold on. What's going on, King? All right, good. We good. So now to be in the Christ consciousness, again, you gotta have a direct experience. So even in the Bible, when they talking about Jesus or whichever, Buddha, ultimately those are figured are people who embody that level of consciousness. So now, as you being a person, so you can relate to it as well, because this knowledge you got to have a direct experience with it. That's why Jesus was, as the Son of God, came to earth. You have to understand the story. You got to listen to the story, baby. You know what I'm saying? Came to earth. You know what I'm saying? For you. See how special you are? You know what I'm saying? But most importantly, it's for you to understand. Because the one thing that mythology does is that, or even when you look at something on TV, it creates a reality. So when our ancestors used mythology, we know exactly what we were doing. That's why I always tell people once you understand what mythology is, it's the greatest ever when it comes to mind control. It's the greatest tool that we good. You heard? We good. Oh, we good, good. That's the question I wanted. We good, good. Anyway, when you have, let's just say, your philosophers or even a lot of religious people, the modern day religious people, they talk about Christ, it has become more of a social order type of thing. Because even though they are talking about Christ and all of that, they're not having a direct experience with it. And that's why I always tell people, talking about Jesus means nothing. But when you start acting like Jesus, then that's how I know. Or even yourself, not just for, yeah, fuck me. Like, I don't even give a fuck, to be honest. But that's how, that would be the statement that you'll make. Because right now, like, you know what I'm saying? Hey, man, listen, it's all actions. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's why. I mean, so what would be the difference? That's why a rich person think like a rich motherfucker and do rich motherfucking shit. Do you see what I'm saying? So, if you in control of your emotions, you're not going to be triggered. But you may act like you are in control of your emotions. That's when you don't raise your voice. You know what I'm saying? That's when you don't talk too loud. That's when why would I say certain words? Because you're still in that social order type of thing, a behavior type of shit. Now, what I'm saying to you is, it's not the behavior that's the issue. It's you not being real. That's the issue. And trust me, that's why a lot like I always tell people, you let me know of any true spiritual master, you'll see how open these motherfuckers are. They wouldn't have an issue telling you about what I used to do. Hey man, I had to learn. This happened and that. Yeah, they're all most honest motherfuckers. That's what you want. That's what you have to incorporate into your life. That's how you start having a direct relationship now with what Christ is saying or you becoming the Christ. I mean, there's no benefit in talking about Jesus, nigga, if you're not being Jesus. Don't give a fuck. Even if you want to talk some street shit, all right. If you're gonna be street, you can't be talking about it. Isn't that what these niggas are talking about? Be real, right? You're a real nigga, aren't you? You know what I'm saying? But some of these real niggas, man, they trying to act like, you know what I'm saying? But you a nigga, dog. You know what I'm saying? You trying to fuck up my mind, nigga. Phil, I don't care. If you try to blow my mind, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, saying all that to say, only then your growth will start taking place. And guess what? Even when you talk anything spiritual, you'll never get. Let's go back to the law of manifestation. When someone tells you, you know what, you need to align with that. So that means no matter what you were doing as a pretender, it's never going to work. What they're truly telling you, yo, you're a pretender, dog. You got to start living that way for you to get the results of that type of life. And all of that is the law of manifestation, too. So you're already manifesting, just so you guys know. But now it's not your desire, what you would like to manifest. Hey, then who are you? Well, part of who you are, a big chunk of that has to do with the quality of information that you have about you. That's why people are telling you got to have a high self esteem, all that shit. Because again, that's why you got to love the self. You have to embody and embrace yourself. Knowing who you are will set you free. Will seek the kingdom of God. You'll know who you are. So when you have a lot of people like, especially in today's, I guess, you see a lot of, because I listen to a lot of people too, right? Because listen, I mean, wisdom is wisdom regardless of where it comes from. But because shit, I gotta eat too. It's a pleasure for me, let's just say, to listen to someone, I'm saying, who's sharing this. Of course. Do you see what I'm saying? That's why we always got to shout out our fucking ancestors. You know what I'm saying? Or the one that came before us, or even the one who was talking about this. We appreciate it. On, of course, man, we know exactly what this is. It's treasure. It's enlightenment. It's giving me something I didn't have before. So of course, I'm always going to appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? So wisdom is wisdom, babe, regardless where it comes from. But I'm saying all of that to say, again, it all comes down to having a direct experience. The words got to be made flesh. So if you're talking about Jesus, you're not living like Jesus. You're not on the Jesus frequency. So then everything that you're doing is nothing. You're doing a whole bunch of nothing, a whole bunch of that's well pretending. You're faking, and that's why you'll see people. Some people would go to church, But yet, I mean, it's a Sunday thing. But you take great pleasure now in talking about the fact that you go to church on Sunday. That's why you'll see a lot of these people, their ways are very evil. They have evil ways. And what that simply means is they're not in they're not that's why none of their shit works. Their prayers is not gonna work. Their meditation is not gonna work. Nothing that they do is working. Well, that's what they fake too. You're not getting the best out of meditation if you don't know who you are. And if you don't know what meditation is, if you don't know why you're doing it, it is what it is. There's no way outside of it. I mean, I could talk all day on the fucking pretending part, but I think it's better to emphasize on what it takes for you to be real, but also understand the fucking pretenders because this shit have became some sort of validate. You know what I'm saying? That's why because of that now, it's like that's why you gotta act a certain way. Now, I'm not saying to be spiritual means you're gonna rape fucking little kids. That's not what being spiritual is about neither. And you'll see a lot of. I want you to understand this because a lot of people don't quite understand what I'm saying. It's not saying you don't have no code of ethics, but that's not what validates you. It doesn't validate you. You validated it. Now through you, like through my fucking integrity, now you could see what fucking integrity is. Through love, through what I'm saying, then you're gonna see what that shit is. We're making statements out here. This is in the books. This is not a fake shit. It's not a pretending thing. That's why this is for the devoted ones. And I love that term too. I think it's either the Buddhism or Hinduism who says it. Listen, I love it. I got the shit, nigga. The devoted ones. No, man, this ain't no part-time work, man. But guess what? There's no part-time work either way. And the great Dr. Lila Africa made that statement and took, I mean, I really loved it. But it took me a minute to like fully grasp it. Like he tells you, yo, you are practicing stupidity every day. A big part of that is the law of rhythm. Everything moves. Well, guess what? You best believe if you're not getting smarter every day, hey, you're getting dumber and dumber. You never see people the older they get, the beater they get. Yeah, it's that way. But you would think, there you go again, the misconception. You not looking at them as that kid, but yet that is that's pretty much at this point it's trapped in a fucking older body. Those are your Chuckies. But the good thing about Chucky's not even in an older body, and I love that depiction of it because Chuck is showing you Chucky as Chucky is, and that's what a lot of these motherfuckers are. All your pretenders, that's who they are. Or if they're not to a Chucky level yet, they're all potential candidate. Any one of them could become Chucky at any given time. Damn, what's going on with my smoke, man? Shit, man, other shit. But anyway, going back. Oh shit. Anyway, let's. What the fuck was I talking about? Again, the importance of this knowledge for you to have a direct experience with it. That's where the transformation takes place. That's how you being born again. That's how you used to be a little. As a kid, I talk as a kid. Well, now as a man, come on, now you're looking at him. You know what I'm saying? We don't. You know what I'm saying? We're still down with the. Come on, man. The kid is always here. Scout better, baby. That's what I'm saying. You all be chucking, nigga. You want to grow, nigga. Drink some milk. Eat some food, drink some milk, play with some kids, you know what I'm saying? Chucky, relax. Chucky wasn't playing, wasn't doing none of that shit. Chucky was, and if you understand that alone, I'm trying to get you to see us, the complexity in us, but also showing you what you're dealing with when you're dealing with other people, the shadow self. And when we're talking about that spirituality or even to become mentally or emotionally balanced, it's all part of this. But also having the discernment or the highest state of consciousness now, to see beyond the veil. Your shit can only work when you're not pretending. Adopting an abundant state of mind doesn't mean, let's just say, that you may be broke. Like for me, I am fucking abundant. And this is not to say just to say, but I'm saying this because I lived it. I know it. And I am that too. I mean, I'm just a total package. Listen, I'm coming. I'm gonna keep it real with you. Hey, you know what I'm saying? Hey, it is what it is. I talk my shit like I see it. Hey, listen, man. I'm keeping it funky with you. So, see, this is all of it's a whole lot that's being said here. But anyway, now going back to let's just say, let's use meditation, right? Let's go back to the law of manifestation real quick because I need to finish up what I was trying to say, right? So we talked about when they say, okay, so you're a pretender, pretty much. It's not being formulated that way, but the reason why it's not working because you're not in alignment with that, or people will say you attract who you are, and all of that is it's I mean, shit. You live it, you know it. Even the person who's saying, but anyway, I'm saying all of that to say, and they're saying that to you too, because they understand they have, it's like once you attain that higher, like that higher state of consciousness, come on, it becomes pretty plain. Even me going back to the whole Napoleon Hill type of shit, this is also showing you your essence, but most importantly, what he's also trying to do is trying to get you to raise your frequency and change your life. You know, I mean, until you start thinking the way they think, you're not going to get the results of what they're getting. Otherwise, if you don't think or you don't act the way they act, you are a pretender. And that's what most motherfuckers do, aren't they? Niggas driving fast cars, a lot of cars, and then they have no money, whatever the fuck, however the fuck you want to put it. I'm showing you, like, it's out there. I'm not making this up, baby. I mean, I'm trying to dumb it down to the best of my ability. But I also want you to see what's also, when you're looking at what's taking place in front of you, there's a deeper side to it. And that's when the occult comes in. Now you're dealing with the other side of you. That's why you'll see in any occult, book or beginner's book, they will let you know you have a conscious mind, then you have a subconscious mind. You got to understand why. Because they're trying to get you to be a little more aware of just the regular shit that you do on a regular basis. Now, it didn't change. It's still part of your regular life, but there's a little more to it. And that's why the occult simply is giving you, it's a manual that gives you a better understanding of your ordinary fucking life. All right, this shit's out. So now we were talking about being a pretender. I mean, it doesn't matter at this point because everything else that you do, it's that's why these niggas who are praying, who the fuck they praying to? Not who the fuck they're praying to, but I mean, have you seen? I mean, not to be judgmental, but it's like, I mean, but also to be judgmental too, respectfully. But it's almost like, it's like, I mean, if you're meditating every day and there's no changes, I mean, there's no progress in you as a person, how good is that meditation? But that's what happens when you are pretending, though. It's always going to be that way. That's why you'll see a lot of people who are even associating themselves with certain religion. It's all, what I'm saying, I'm a good person. I mean, go to church. I say the right word. It's a Now it has become another form of valid. I mean, people pleasing. So a lot of your pretenders now, they may use a lot of fucking great words too, but they're not living it because there's certain benefit that may comes in terms of how they're being perceived. That's where the validation comes in, and like some people are listen, they're very proud to be Christians, but their action is just different. You know what I'm saying? So it's almost like that's why I mean your prayer. How effective is your prayers gonna be? Really? Can you imagine a fake motherfucker meditating? Uh, that's what I'm saying. It's almost like you cancel out what you're doing, and that's exactly what you do too in your law of manifestation. That's why you get no results. You cancel the shit out. Like you project the shit, your energy doesn't matter. It's like this shit. I mean, you killed it before it even get off the ground because you're not resonating that way. Another way of saying this, and I'm gonna leave it there. You can't fake the funk, baby. Hey, shit, Mali.